is Tarik Talk. Your host, Tarik Mendez, takes you on a journey with guests from all around the world. Broadcasting around the world. Around the world. This is Tarik Talk.
Hey guys, today we're here with Fabricio Suarez, a fellow artist from Art 150, a neighbor of mine. We have art studios there in downtown Jersey City. Thank you so much for being here today, Fabricio. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you.
Good, thank you. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm originally from Uruguay, and I've been here in the States for about, 25 years now.
Oh, wow.
Originally I started, always wanted to draw and paint, and I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York.
Oh, wow.
For illustration and cartooning. And so I originally thought I was going to do, like children's books.
I didn't know that.
And sort of like paint on the side.
Yeah.
I wanted to be an illustrator at the
Okay.
beginning. I did not know much about really being a painter. Like practically thought, I didn't know you can make a living as a painter, like most people. So I thought illustration is amazing, so I'll be an illustrator of some sort. And so when I got out of school, I worked as a freelance illustrator a lot, and I did some children's books. I worked in a publishing house as an in-house illustrator for a few years. And then, I don't know, I got bored of it. It was kind of like a little...
Wasn't as freeing, let's say, for your
It wasn't as
creativity,
freeing. Yeah, you have to like take notes. You have to take, a lot of notes basically on what people want and redos and stuff like that. And it's just like, it really didn't make it fun.
Yeah.
For me, maybe other people have different, experiences and different styles. But for me personally, it wasn't meshing. And I like painting. I always loved sort of like plein air painting. And I started as a plein air painter in college. I used to take every summer I used to take like summer classes at SVA, like plein air painting.
Yeah.
With this amazing teacher that Gregory Crane is a Brooklyn like legend for plein air, and all kinds of paintings, and he's a teacher at SVA, and so every summer and I took off. Like I love it. I love plein air painting. Like I take my easel when the weather gets nice, and sometimes when it's cold and wet. And,
You do it in the cold?
Yeah,
wow, that's dedication.
In the snow. I've done it in like rainy snow, like. But
how long does it take you? Like, are you there until the product's finished?
The idea is to paint really fast.
Oh, okay.
And sort of to couple of hours.
Yeah.
But if the weather's nice and I'm there, like I'll stand on a corner because I like painting. Like right now, I paint a lot of like cityscapes around Jersey City and Hoboken. And so I'll stay like 6 hours, like standing on a corner. Like
and do people bother you? I always wonder, like,
are
they?
A lot. I mean, you always have those stragglers that are like, it's nice, whatever. I sold a lot of paintings from.
Oh, that's amazing.
From the easel.
Yeah.
Which is fun. But yeah, I mean, some people just like stand behind you and like watch you for a long period of time. But it's fine. I mean, you learn to deal with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You learn to
to block it off.
Yeah, and also it's part of it. It's understandable. You don't see a painter in a corner every day. People are curious and they
like
stop.
If you're not into art, it's intriguing.
So I just entertain them for a little bit, and it's fun. Boosts your ego a little bit.
Yeah.
So most people are like, wow, and you just first, you're like, I just started the painting.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like to do that a lot, and then I had a problem that I wanted to paint in the winter, and like I like to paint from life. I never like to paint from photographs.
Mm-hmm.
So I started sort of painting from imagination.
Oh wow!
In my studio, and sort of like playing with brushstrokes and with mark making, and just experimenting really. And that's how I sort of like started being more of a studio artist. Okay. Like I left a little bit of the plein air on the side. That became more challenging because plein air painting, it's fun.
Yeah.
You're outdoor, you look and you paint. That's it.
Yeah.
You look and you paint. You don't have to think.
Yeah.
And when you're in the studio, what do you paint?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to think.
Yeah.
So that's more challenging and that's more interesting to me.
And I have to ask, do you think like having a studio space has helped like your creative process?
Well, yeah. I mean, just having a space in general has helped, but I've always painted no matter what.
Yeah.
Like whether I had a studio or not, area of my house was always a studio.
Oh wow.
Corner.
Did you use the kitchen table like I used to?
Everything.
Yeah.
I use it today.
Yeah.
Even though I have a
Really?
studio. I go. My kitchen table is set up for watercolors and.
Oh wow. So like when inspiration hits, you're there.
I paint every night. I go home and I paint every night,
Wow.
like because I don't want to be in the studio and I want to like be close and go to bed or something.
Yeah.
But I want to like, I also don't like to watch TV by itself.
Yeah.
I like to watch TV while I'm painting.
Yeah, me too.
So I can't just watch TV and do nothing.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
the same
wasting
way,
time.
yeah.
So I put my little iPad in my kitchen table
Yeah.
and I, paint until 2:00 in the morning and then go to bed. But it I've always said that if you have your work already set up, or your easel, your setup always up, and you don't have to constantly set up a corner to paint. Yeah. Then it's
because that takes a lot of energy and
then you just do it every day, and when you do it every day, it becomes habit, and that's what I wanted to do. So yeah, and then that's how I sort of started. Like now, I do some photograph, reference from photographs, but I normally just paint from memory or like
that's
imagination
really cool.
or stuff.
Yeah.
Or like when I wipe paint off the canvas and something shows, I'll sort of go along.
And I have another question. Are you like when you show up to your studio, are you always able to have like an outcome to a product, or do you find some days that you're kind of there like waiting for inspiration to hit, or you just go like show up and you're ready to work?
That's an interesting question. I mean, definitely my approach is show up and go to work.
Okay.
Inspiration, there's a quote, right? If anyone's inspiration is for amateurs.
Yeah.
Professionals, just show up to work.
That's true, yeah.
You don't need to wait for anything. You gotta just, And yeah, I've had, bad days that, that I've worked on pieces. I worked on pieces for weeks and then ended up wiping them off because rage hits, something hits, and I couldn't fix it or something. And I wipe a whole painting off, but what was the question?
Just like when you show up, because like talking with different guests, I find it interesting how some people will either just show up and get to work right away and the inspiration will automatically show up, or some people like me, I will show up if I'm not inspired, kind of like organize or clean the studio until it comes.
Yeah.
And like when you start working on something, are you able, like if it doesn't turn out how you want it, do you throw it out? Or do you like leave it on the side somewhere and then work on it maybe like weeks or months later?
Yeah, I leave it on the side for sure.
Leave it on the side?
Yeah,
do you try to go back and like add something to it?
Oh yeah, I've repurposed many old paintings. I was like, I can like really do something with this. Yeah. Interesting. Not a lot, but one or two.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. Because I like to just make new work. I don't like to look back, what's done, it's done. Yeah. And it also shows your progress.
Yeah, keep moving on,
But, like if there's something that I'm not happy with, I just like set it aside and see what happens to me months later. Because, sometimes it's not really finished. Yeah. And I just don't see a direction. I'll just set it aside and maybe someday I'll see a direction. But I think I just go into my studio and, if the studio is clean, I can
get
straight
to
work
right away.
If it's not, I'll just clean up a little bit. But like, your setting has to be comfortable. Yeah. I scroll Instagram for 20 minutes, and then I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And, put the phone away and then get to work.
And I have another question. Do you normally prefer to work like in the mornings, or are you like a nighttime person?
I like it all.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I love the quiet of the nighttime.
Me too, yeah.
Because peaceful, everybody feels like everybody's
Nobody's
sleeping.
Gonna call you or bother you.
But, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in the morning, that fresh out of bed, if you can get to your studio early in the morning, a cup of coffee, I think you have a different energy too.
Yeah. Oh,
so that morning energy, I think it's more helpful to create, and the night time is more helpful to like sort of continue and produce.
Oh wow.
Because I
I'm
think
the
the
opposite.
ideas, but I think for me the ideas in the morning, the fresh ideas in the morning, come cleaner, and then at night, you know, I don't like if I start a painting, I want to start it in the morning.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But I like to paint both. I'm a night owl.
Oh, that's amazing.
I like to paint total.
And where do you get like your inspirations? Do you keep like a sketchbook, or you take pictures or screenshots of certain things?
I do take a lot of pictures. Yeah. I used to keep hundreds of, I mean, not hundreds, but I have a lot of sketchbooks.
Yeah.
A lot,
Oh, wow.
especially from college. You know, drawings on the train and other things. Right now, not so much. Right now, I just have a lot of ideas, and if I have something, I just like draw it really quick.
Yeah.
And I do take a lot of pictures for like.
And do you reference that, like when you start a new painting, you're like, oh.
Yeah, I just like mildly, right? I don't fully like capture.
Yeah.
But I like to reference some ideas of patterns specifically. But yeah, I think that's how I sort of like get my. Like my inspiration. It doesn't really, because you know the way I start my paintings, my inspiration doesn't really come from anywhere.
Yeah.
I start it myself, and then I get inspired by just the movement of my arms.
Got it.
You know, because like if a painting is, I cover a painting in a color, like a canvas in any color, and then I wipe with like a rag.
Yeah.
I wipe it off, and when I'm wiping it off, I start seeing things.
Oh, I see.
And so the art is as I do it, and it's not before. I don't think of a piece before.
Yeah.
I don't sketch it out, and I don't think about it.
You're just like in the moment, right?
I'm
there.
in the moment, sort of making it, and then I'll like let the sort of movements guide me to see where I'm going to. I do have inspiration on like old masters.
Oh, okay. Who are they? Tell us.
Oof, I mean all of them, right? But like the Dutch old masters.
Okay.
Rachel Roye, the flower painter, she was unbelievable. So her paintings, for my flowers are like super inspirational. But then, you know, Velasquez is probably my favorite painter of all time. And Rubens. I mean, of course. So there's like the Dutch and the Spanish masters. So I get sort of like inspiration from them. What I get is little details, like, oh, look, a hand, I paint that hand.
Oh, okay.
Or the composition and the mood, like dark moods. That's why I like sort of like dark paintings a little bit.
And do you think being from Uruguay has influenced your work? Because your work has a lot of colors, and I thought it was like...
I would love to say yes.
Yeah?
I would love to say yes, but I don't know.
No?
You know, a lot of times when I see these painters paint, you know, people or people from their country, like I follow a few Dominican painters and Puerto Rican painters, and they do paintings of their people, and they're like, it's Puerto Rico, and I'm like, I would love to do something like that, but you know, I'm not. I left Uruguay so long ago that I mean, I could do it about football, and I thought about making. I'm so passionate about not football, the sport, but the national
imagery?
team.
Oh, okay.
Of Uruguay, right?
Yeah.
Just their soccer team.
Yeah.
And so I always thought about doing paintings based on soccer somewhat, but it doesn't flow from me. It doesn't, like, they're two separate things. Yeah. I did, in like 2010, when we did really good in the World Cup, I did do some paintings of Uruguay stadiums, some soccer stadiums in between mountains, kind of like surreal, weird stuff. But I would love to say that Uruguay, but no, I mean, it just comes out of like my own brain.
Your own brain.
Yeah.
And I noticed a lot of like sunsets and ocean in your paintings in the background.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, you know, being a landscape painter or a plein air painter, I think influenced me painting, you know, landscapes naturally. I love nature. I love landscapes, and I think I am a little bit melancholic, and I don't like it. So I try to just put those in my paintings. I like my paintings to be like melancholic, and I think nothing like a sunset, you know, or like a moon, like looking up and pondering. and I like mystery, and I think that's why, you know, all these sunsets and moons, and I like the idea of just pondering nature. And yeah, that's really
That's so interesting you say that, because that's exactly like looking at your paintings. It takes me like back to memories I even forget that I have, you know?
Yeah.
Because there's like, but in a good way, like a sadness to it.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what I mean? Like, I don't know, like there's a specific painting where it's like a sunset and there's flowers in the forefront. And that, like when I looked at it, I remember it reminded me, like, you know, when you're younger and summer is ending and you're like, oh, I wish I could keep this forever.
Yes.
But I remember, like, I get goosebumps. That's like what it took me back to.
Wow.
And I remember, I think when we met, it was when I curated the show at the gallery. And
the big gallery.
Yeah, I think I had 3 beautiful paintings.
Yeah.
And I remember like seeing them, and then like how I thought of it, and then like seeing other people like on an opening night talking to each other and like observing. Are you, when you create your artwork, do you try to think of the like perspective of the person seeing your work, or do you just create as it is, like whatever you feel like it? Not at all.
No.
Okay, good.
I don't care about anybody. In that
Well, that's the right answer. Yeah.
In that sense,
Yeah.
you can't make art for anybody.
Yeah, that's true.
You know.
But do you like hearing people's like perspective? Like, do you
Sure,
kind
I
of find it
mean, I
fascinating?
like to hear good things.
Yeah, yeah.
And bad things, actually.
Yeah.
Actually, I would prefer bad things.
Constructive criticism.
I would,
right?
I would prefer
Yeah.
it, because, you know, like, hey, beautiful work. I'm like, great, thanks.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, that doesn't really give you much.
Yeah.
No, I'm the same.
But constructive criticism, yeah, all day long. But yeah, as far as taking people's perspective, no.
Yeah.
Because, you know, people don't come to see what they want to see.
Yeah.
They can stay at home and watch their paintings.
Exactly. Yeah.
They come to see what you
Yeah.
create, you know, not what they think you should
Definitely.
create.
And then that painting, I remember, it was like it was the ocean on a boat, and it looked like figures kind of traveling with.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like being an immigrant, I remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like I remember thinking like, oh my god, the people in this boat like going to this new country, how scared it was for them. But then also like the native people being there, but like, who are these people showing up? Like,
Right.
I never seen these people before. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like your work really takes you like on a full journey. Like it really soaks you in. And there's so much details, and there's a background, there's a forefront. And that's why I like it so much. And that's why I wanted to have you as a guest, because I really find it fascinating. It reminded me, when I first saw it, I didn't know much about you. Like, I don't think we even met. I saw your Instagram because, like, we were in the same art studio place.
Right.
But I remember it reminded me, like for instance, Beacon.
Yeah.
But, like, in a better way, where it's not, like, depressive. It was, like a happy sadness. You know, like, when you have something happen that's good, but then you're able to look back with, like, a happy emotion and memory.
Like bittersweet.
Yeah, exactly, bittersweet. But that's like what it reminded me of, and I said, "Oh my god, this is like the coolest thing ever." But I remember seeing people look at it and like notice different things on the flowers or the background. I thought, "Oh, I wonder if he just paints, you know, from inspiration, or there's kind of like, you know, a foreplan, like a background there where he kind of wants to suck the people in and like look at the little details and look over here, look over there."
Yeah. I definitely like paintings that, you know, sometimes I want to simplify my paintings.
Yeah.
Like, but simplified, while they can be beautiful, it's hard to hide things. And I want to hide things in a painting.
Yeah, and
know?
I love that. Yeah, I love that you do that. Yeah.
I want people to like look for things and not just to like, look and move on.
Exactly,
and move on.
yeah.
Like, wait, what could that be? What, you know?
It's like remember that little guy, Where's Waldo? They have to look.
Yes.
Because there's so many details. Like that one you did with the garden, it was like
Amazing.
12 by 12, I think.
Yeah.
And it had like a little hidden skull. And I remember finding it, I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like nobody would see this besides me.
I love
it's like
that.
an adventure.
I think the initial influence for that is Peter Bruegel.
Oh, okay.
You know, and like Hieronymus Bosch.
Yeah.
Because, you know, all those hellish scenes of humanity, and, you know, it's like, how do they
exactly how to come up with that.
up with that?
Exactly.
And all the details, like you see little things everywhere, like you keep wanting to look at those paintings. They're so, I saw one just it's just amazing. Seeing them in person,
is another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, mesmerizing.
And do you always paint with oil? Or do you like do different mediums?
I have always painted with oils. Never looked back.
Oh wow.
Never did anything else. Lately, because of some side work that I've had doing murals and certain things, like I did a mural for my son, for example, in his bedroom.
Oh wow.
And I couldn't use oils, and I started with acrylics. And acrylics are good, especially for illustration.
Yeah.
Because, you can just be, but, for acrylic, it doesn't serve my purpose because you got to be more deliberate.
Yeah.
And I like fluidity where oils gives you more of a...
Like it's more spontaneous.
Yeah, oils will surprise me. Acrylics, not.
Oh, wow.
And acrylics is plastic, Oils is from Mother Earth. So,
that's...
And I like watercolors and gouache.
I've never seen watercolor from you. I have to check it out.
Oh, so like I did a bunch of like series of
the flowers.
The flowers.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
And those are like my kitchen table drawings.
Wow, that's really cool.
Those are the ones that I do at night. And those are mostly watercolor, but I like gouache a lot because it's kind of like this matte. It's kind of like oil a little bit. And I like those to play around with and do small works.
And you mentioned you have a son. How is that I don't have kids, so I always wonder, like, having a child, does that, like, give you more freedom? Because you're, with the child, they have, like, this wild imagination.
Yeah.
Like, does it help you to be, like, more creative, like, boundless creation and inspired?
Well, definitely, it doesn't, I think he has inspired me in different ways.
Yeah.
Because he's just such a, like, wild kid.
How old is he?
He's 6.
Oh wow, that's the good age.
So like I see all his drawings, and I think everything influences you a little bit. Definitely hasn't given me any more freedom as far as time goes.
Yes, I can imagine.
But it's good. It's great. I love it.
Oh wow.
I have time to paint. I have time to be a dad. So it's.
And
it's
do you like because like I always imagine like me later on in life, like having a kid is. Like my dream is to like have my kid in my studio. You know what I mean? Like, do you do that?
Yeah, that was my dream too, right?
Oh, wow.
That's if you want a kid, that's kind of like a nice little thing to do. So because of our studio situation, I don't want to bring him too much because I don't want to be too loud, etc., etc. But we do have like paint sessions at home.
Oh, that's really nice.
I brought him to the studio a couple of times.
Yeah.
But we do have like. Some paint sessions at home, and he loves painting and drawing. In fact, some of his drawings I've tattooed in my arm.
No way. That's so cool.
I just love his little drawings.
That's so cool.
This one.
We have to include this in the video.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's so dope.
So this was when he was like 4.
Do you have a picture of this on Instagram? Because I love to share with like the listeners. It's up to you if you don't. If you want to
actually, I think not on my Instagram.
Yeah.
But I like sometimes put them on my stories or something.
Oh wow, that's really cool.
But I'll send you a picture.
If you don't mind, it's really nice. And do you like keep his like all of his drawings?
Not
or like
just
the good ones. Yeah, just the good ones. Yeah.
I'm not gonna it's too much.
Yeah.
And just a few, nothing crazy. Because what am I, like,
otherwise you have a huge like archive.
It's too much. But I keep a few things here and there. I just try to be selective and save some of his art. I mean, I already saved it in my arm,
have that for life.
That's plenty.
Because you mentioned earlier you kept some of your sketchbooks from during college and after college.
Oh yeah, I mean I have high school sketches.
What's like the earliest that you have?
Oh, I have kindergarten.
No way.
Yeah, I have a
kindergarten.
I have actually, in Uruguay, I went to this really nice school that every year, at the end of the year, they put all of your work into this beautiful leather-bound books.
Oh my God, that's so sweet.
So I have from first grade
for every student?
For every student, for every year. And they're like...
This big,
they're like huge. So, and they're these beautiful leather-bound books, and I have 6 from first to 6th grade. And I have all my, horrible math homework and my art and
that's
a lot of that. And then I have some bigger like pads from kindergarten that my mom saved.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And do you ever like look back from like an artist's perspective, like to see or maybe like get new ideas and to see how far you come, like from a kid to like the high school to the college? and kind of like reminisce and like take.
I don't look back too much.
You don't look back too much?
No. I mean, I think it's nice. I have it. You know, it's all there. But like, I don't reminisce like that. I try not to.
Yeah. And you mentioned before how you like to paint like landscape in person. Have you ever gone to the Met and done that?
No. I know that there's a sort of like a program that you have to apply for. I just always figured that there's so many great artists in New York that list is probably like, I don't know.
I didn't know there was a program. I knew there was like a list. Like
you can just like go in, for example, with your stuff and set up, you know, at the Met. There's like, I think there's a program where you apply and they said, you know, now you're like a copy artist or something like that.
Oh, okay, just
so you have to do something like that. And since that's not my wheelhouse, I mean, I would love to do it, you know, if it was like a free-for-all, but like, since it's not my wheelhouse, I'm not going to go through the whole process to see what kind of mediocre painting I can
Oh
copy,
my gosh,
you know?
That's a shame, because I thought the process was much easier than that. I thought like...
I mean, it might be easier. I just think I didn't do it myself because like...
You like the freedom of being in the moment.
Yeah, I don't like... I mean... I've done some copies, but I'm not interested in making copies of any artwork.
Yeah.
I love other artwork, right? But like it's not like I've done like some Velasquez, you know, a little like in watercolor specifically, just as a practice and to have because I like it. But yeah, nothing in oils or like nothing that I would consider I want to show or something like that.
And then from like watercolor, acrylic, and oil, like what's your favorite medium?
Acrylic is out of the door. I hate acrylics.
Bye. Only for the mural, right?
Only for the murals. Watercolors and gouache are great. Yeah. I mean, I use them together. They're both so different, but you can use them together. I like them both for their own thing. Like, and I was so afraid of watercolors. For a long time.
Yeah, it's very difficult. A lot of people are scared. Yeah.
But you just gotta get in there.
Yeah.
If you like it, I mean, I started doing this like nighttime drawings with my set up at home like maybe 2-3 years ago, and I just do it every single night, and I've gotten so much better, and I can totally see the progress. And I was so afraid, and it's not that hard if you like it, right? You know, if you're into it, it's not crazy. Just pick up a few tips on YouTube and you're good to go. And
I noticed, as you mentioned before, the watercolor flowers. Do you normally use watercolor for like when you're doing flowers or small portraits of flowers?
No. I mean, I normally paint in oils. Just in the studio, it's only oils. Only oils in my studio. But then at home, I like to do the watercolors. I just feel like it's more of an intimate setting. It's nice, and I would like to show them because I like take them seriously. Yeah. Especially
they're beautiful.
The latest watercolors. But yeah, they're so much fun to paint and also really hard.
Oh my God! Yeah. Like the watercolor medium or the flowers?
The flowers themselves.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're like intricate, you know, like I like, I don't know, sometimes, and specifically because since I cannot be as free as I can with oils for a composition, I have to draw the composition with a pencil, and I have to draw lightly. So that's the challenging part where I have to like be deliberate in my composition, and I just cannot let it come to me. I have to actually know what I'm doing before, right? So that's the difference. This one I have to plan it out. Versus in the studio where they just come as they wish.
No, that makes sense. All right. So do you ever get stuck like when you're in your creative process? Like, do you ever have a time in your life where you kind of had like a writer's block in regards to art, and were you able to like overcome that?
I'm not sure. I think I have a few times, but you know, I think they were more for other reasons than artistic, like personal reasons. You
like
know,
real life
going
stuff.
through a breakup or something like that. I think certain things like that could sort of give you a little bit of that. And I don't think the art itself is, because if you know how to paint, you've done it before.
You do wherever.
You know, you can do whatever you want. I think it's just a different type of blockage that is preventing that. If everything is good, I feel like if my apartment is clean, if my studio is decently clean, I can get to work.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think that quote by Chuck Close, I think it is, that it says artists, show up to work, professionals show up to work. I take that to heart.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be sort of pondering, like what to paint.
Mm-hmm.
I want to just, that's why I have that process that allows me for the painting to come to me. I don't have to look for it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. And then when you're painting, like, what's your process? Our previous guest, shout out to Zara, she normally, I remember seeing her Instagrams on her timeline, she paints, like, with the painting, like, on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Where I normally paint it with, like, on my lap or on the floor, or, you know what I mean? When you paint, because your work is so intricate, like, how, like, where do you place your paint? Like, on the easel, on the table?
That's a good question. I like to paint on the wall.
Like, you're standing up?
Standing up.
Oh, wow.
I think when you're standing up, you are more attentive.
Yeah.
You're more purposeful.
Yeah.
And you have more body movement.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're sitting down, you're more sedentary.
Yeah.
So I think it's sort of like, it does not a favor to the painting, starting a painting sitting down. Unless you're an illustrator, maybe like if you go, like you said, you just like sit down and you like, you know what to do, boom, you do it. But I think standing up with a painting on the wall, it makes it more purposeful. And then when sometimes I need to get detail or something like that, I just get my mole stick and I'll sort of like, get in there. At night, when I'm super tired or something, like I'm falling asleep in front of an easel. I take the painting, I'll put it on the easel if I want to sit down for a little while, and I'll paint on the easel. But like, if I'm tired, if I'm painting, I sit down. But 99% of the time, I sort of stand up,
Oh, that's amazing. So you try to stand up from, like, start to finish in a way?
Do I?
As much as you can?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Wow. So you, like, it's almost like a performance that you give yourself,
It has to be, I think. Like first, like I said, when I paint plein air, there's no sitting down. I mean, you can sit down too, I guess.
Do you at all?
No.
So you, like, bring your easel and your frame
Standing
the
up.
whole time? So if you're there for 5 hours, you're standing up the whole time?
5 hours.
Oh my gosh, that's dedication.
Yeah. No, it's...
Wow.
I think it's kind of like you're into it, It's just... And like I said, I think standing up, you're more attentive.
Yeah.
You're like
you're
more present.
Alert. Yeah.
You're more alert. And it's more, I don't know. I think it's like the way to go.
No, I agree. I agree with what you said. And I have a question. If you could go back in time to your younger self, what's like an artistic advice you would tell your younger self?
I would say stop going out and paint.
Yes.
Work every day on the craft, every single day. I would say just start working every day, because I think I went to art school when I was like probably 23. And before then, I didn't paint every day. I would paint, once every so often. Yeah. I like to paint, and then I was planning to go to art school, and so I would paint very little. I wouldn't paint every single day. Yeah. And then when I went to school, clearly in school I would do it, and then after school, most people just fall off and start doing something else. Yeah. And I got on the boat right away. I got a studio, and I started painting, and ever since then, I paint every single day.
Oh, that's amazing.
But beforehand, I wish I'd done that, because I think it would have given me a leg up or something.
Yeah. I'm so fascinated that you have this like huge archival work, like to see like a retrospective of your work.
Yeah.
With, like, because a lot of artists don't have that much access to their work, or they lost it or whatever.
Yeah.
But the fact that you do, I would be like so fascinated to see, like, compare your work now to like your earliest sketch, and
right.
Because sometimes you get to see like, oh my gosh, there's like a flower now and then a flower then. It's kind of like a prophecy in a way,
Yeah.
And then a lot of people, through like the guests I've interviewed, a lot of the questions has been, how do you get started as an artist? Like, what would you tell a young artist that feels like inside they're an artist but they don't know what's the next step? Like, what advice would you give them?
I would just say to do your art.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not to worry.
Yeah.
Because, first of all, if you consider yourself an artist and you want to become an artist, then you already are.
Yeah.
And it's not to say like, oh, if you think you're an artist, you're an artist. No.
Yeah.
If you do the work, you're an artist.
Yes.
So do the work, and then, show your work as much as possible. That's it. But I never worried about showing my work until not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
People now sometimes they want like that immediate gratification.
Yeah.
And they want to make a painting, and they're like, I'm a professional. I want this on a wall. It's
Yeah.
like I did
It doesn't work like that.
400,000 paintings.
Yeah.
And the idea is to churn out work and not to like treat every painting as the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
Because if every painting is the Mona Lisa, then you're a genius.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
They don't have to do
And it
anything.
doesn't work.
Just trust the process.
I think there's a really great book called Art and Fear.
Oh wow.
It's a really thin book, but it's amazing. In one of the chapters, they talk about they send a group of 10 people to do the best pottery that they can make, the best one. And then they put another 10 people to make the most potteries that they can make in a day.
Yeah.
The ones that were chosen to make the best, they spent the whole day thinking about what would the best
look like.
pot look like. While the other ones
Just got to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the ones who did the most made the best one because practice.
Yeah.
While the other ones, it wasn't the best because all they did was think about what would the best look like.
Yeah.
The fear of what it would look like. So the idea is to work and then
just get to work.
get to work, and then
I love that.
whatever
I have to check that book
happens.
out. I also wanted to ask you, do you ever have like a artwork that you worked hard on it, but in the end you thought maybe this is not good, and then you like had somebody see the work and they're like, oh my gosh, this is like the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You ever had something like that happen?
Yeah, a lot.
Like, did you ever? Because I had that happen, and it started like, I questioned things like, oh my gosh, maybe I should like start focus on this subject, on this. Did that something like that happen to you
Not
as
at
well?
all.
Or just like, oh great, whatever, thank you.
Yeah, if you want it, buy it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't change my perspective at all.
Yeah.
Some people, I can go by what people like.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what they like.
Yeah.
People don't know what they like.
Exactly.
And they like, they like some bad stuff.
Yeah.
There's some bad art.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad
that's
art.
true, yeah.
And they like it too. People buy, bad art everywhere and they put it in their homes
All
like
the
it's
time.
the Mona Lisa
Yeah,
or
and
something.
brag about it, yeah.
And so like, and it not to mean that your art or that piece that you made is bad, just to say that everybody has different tastes.
Yeah.
You just got to do what you do.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to consider something that you've done before and do it again, I think it's a good idea. But yeah, just I think follow your own,
No, I got you.
thinking.
And do you try to, like in regards to your work, do you try to find new mediums to work with, or you just kind of like focus on the oil and like what's next for me? How can I, take my work to the next level? Or are you more like into a medium, like where you're like, oh, I want to try digital art or something like that?
I mean, I love drawing on my iPad. But,
you do?
I love doing animations, actually.
Yeah.
That's a really cool animation app. But no, absolutely
When
not.
you say animation, do you mean like cartoon, like movement?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
During the pandemic, I made
That's
a bunch
so
of like
cool.
little, in the Procreate app, there's a little animation assist, and I did a bunch of cool animations there.
Wow.
It's so much fun.
That's so cool.
And that's fun,
Yeah.
to do. But and I actually love editing and putting music to it or something.
Wow.
But no, oils. I'm gonna live and die with oils. That's my only medium.
Oh, yeah. I
and
mean,
that's
your work
my
is
thing.
truly terrific.
I can't look anywhere else. I think oils you'll never conquer them. It's like the painting in general or art, but and oils, I think you can do whatever. So no.
And how do you decide with your artwork, like the size of your frame? Does it have to do with your inspiration or?
No, I mean I like working in all shapes. I like working or sizes. I like working large. I like working small, not too small.
Yeah.
But 8x10,
Yeah.
like is the smallest kind
Okay.
of thing. But whatever, I think the size kind of dictates the painting for sure for me. Like I'm not gonna make a same type of painting, but yeah, I like large paintings. I think I like to work on large pieces.
So Fabricio, I saw that on your Instagram. Do you want to plug in your Instagram right now so everybody listening can go
it's
look?
F Suarez Art.
Okay, perfect. And then do you have a website as well?
Yeah, it's FabricioSuarez.com.
Okay, perfect. And there's a link to your website and your Instagram, so it makes it easy. Perfect.
Yeah.
And do you take commissions just to double check?
I mean, sometimes I do.
Yeah.
If I actually like the commission,
Yeah.
I'll take it. I mean, if people are like, paint my sister with her dog, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
But,
So nothing generic, something.
Yeah,
Something
like
interesting.
I did a series of paintings for a restaurant in Jersey City.
Oh, okay.
And I did this one large painting of like a pasta, the poster for a pasta
wow.
boy from like the 1940s.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun. It's kind of illustration work for
Yeah,
sure. But I loved it, and somebody actually asked me if I can do a version of that, and I took
wow.
that commission. But
That's really
I normally
cool.
don't take it because my work is so
Yeah.
so out there. But yeah, I rarely do.
Okay. So do you mind telling us about the watercolor flowers that I saw? Is that something you're working on at the moment?
Yeah, well, I did a series of watercolor flowers
Okay.
that it's ongoing basically, and then right now I'm working on a series of landscapes again with
Yeah.
some nature flower themes, but I'm looking to work with some skulls and skeletons.
Yeah.
And put some of
Oh,
that
that's
in
really
there.
cool.
Yeah.
And do you have you ever traveled abroad or like in a different state or whatever and done like the live painting, or only when you're local?
Yeah, no, I've done it. I've done it in Europe. I've done it in Amsterdam.
wow,
and,
that's so
and
cool.
Prague.
And how is like the demographic, like people abroad, are they like curious or are
Same
reactions?
A lot of people come and want to talk to you.
Yeah.
And want to see your work. But again, that's kind of like part of a whole gig, and it's fine.
And how do you plan for such a thing? Like, you have to have your materials and stuff, but like, do you just, because I never done it, so I'm just like wondering, do you just like take your
Anywhere I
material and show
travel,
up, or
anywhere
do you
I
try to
travel.
go back to the place you saw that was beautiful?
Oh.
Do you know what I mean? Like, do you like kind of plan for the location, or you just walk around and if
I
you
walk
like
around.
it,
Yeah.
when if you saw like you see something, you just drop the easel and start
Right.
painting?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So there's
okay.
sort of like two schools. Like some people, will see a tree stump and
Yeah.
will paint the living out of it, right?
Yeah.
Like they will paint it to death.
Yeah.
And other people, they need to go around and get inspired by
Yeah.
something that they see. Some people can just paint a fence,
Mhm.
Other people, I think, have to like look for something that you really like.
Mhm.
I'm kind of in the latter part where
Oh,
I kind of
okay.
I look for something, but I put everything in my backpack
Yeah.
and I go for a walk, and
Oh, wow.
whenever I see something that I like, I'll take my.
So Fabricio, my previous guests, we talked about where they get the ideas from. Some people say planes, trains, when they wake up, when they're going to sleep, in the shower.
Yeah.
Where do you think your ideas come from?
I don't know.
They just pop up?
They just pop up. I mean, the other day I was like, I want to paint a fox, just out of the blue.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I just thought of a fox or a wolf or something, like the mouth, the snout, the tail.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought of it, and I was like, they would look great in one of my paintings. And it's just in the back of my head. And
Yeah.
right now I thought, literally, probably 2 hours ago,
Oh wow, that's amazing.
I was talking to a friend on the phone, and I was looking at my painting. I was in the studio,
Yeah.
and an idea popped to me. I was like, oh, I want to paint a skeleton there. So
Yeah.
now I'm gonna work on some skeletons. But yeah, it just popped out of nowhere.
Oh, that's genius. Because some people say, like, when you have an idea, do you write it down right away, or do you? Because with previous guests, they say like if they write it down, sometimes that idea is gone forever. Because
If
it
they
kind
write it
of
down.
like leaves their body and goes to the next person. Where some people prefer to write it down and then they use it as like reference for their
Right.
painting. Which one are
I
you?
think the first one is a little like
Extreme.
not extreme, but it's kind of a little like like out of nature, like crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it goes into the world. It's a little bit, you know, like.
No, I know that sounds crazy, but I'm like
You
that.
know?
Like if I have a good idea and I sketch the idea before I paint the idea, it's horrible. Like I lose it.
Well, yes, because it's always the idea is always different in your mind than when you put it down. But then at some point you have to put it down. And if it's not that what you know, I've for example thought about ideas where I put it down. It's not what I thought.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I guess it wasn't the right idea.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah.
Literally the other day I thought, oh, it'd be nice to do this. Sort of like Black Lagoon monster on this painting.
Yeah.
Just out of I don't know why I thought of it. It just came to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I kind of like the old posters of the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
So I was gonna make this creature of the Black Lagoon, and then I went home and I was like, let me do a watercolor on this.
Yeah.
So I did it, and then I was like, this would look horrible in my painting. It's not what I had in my head.
Yeah.
In my head, I had this like something that meshed with it.
Yeah.
And then when I put it to paper, I was like, oh no, I don't think I could do this.
Yeah.
So not every idea is a good idea, even though you think at the time it's a good idea. I think once you put it on paper, it's a true test whether that was a good idea or not.
Continue or not, yeah.
I think it's not that it goes to the next person when you put it down, is that it wasn't a good idea to begin with.
Yeah.
Because if it's a good idea, it'll stay. It will not leave you alone.
It will like incubate, as I say.
Absolutely. Like the idea of this fox, I didn't write down paint fox.
Yeah.
I just thought of it, and it just keeps reoccurring in my head. So I'm like, at some point, you know, if I put it down, you know, it kind of works or it doesn't.
And when you're in the studio, you mentioned like you're listening to like TV shows on your iPad and stuff. Do you listen to music or like do you have...
I listen
like,
to podcasts.
You listen to oh, okay. Yeah. That's really cool.
Yeah, I listen to like I love history podcasts.
Oh, okay.
Like
documentaries or stuff.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. There's this one called Real Dictators.
Oh, I haven't seen.
Sir. It's all about like, you know, they talk about Stalin and Hitler and like Mugabe, and so I like history podcasts or any other.
And does like what you're listening to affect your work that you're working on, or does it go to the next?
No,
or it's just like two different things.
Yeah, two different things.
Okay.
It kind of keeps me company more than music. Music feels like, I don't know. I don't listen to a lot of music.
Oh wow, that's
it's
so
just there, and I feel alone when I'm with music.
Oh really?
When I'm with a podcast, I'm
you feel like
I have a.
It's kind of like having a friend that you don't have to give too much attention to, but it's there. Right. Yeah, I get what you mean.
It's like, especially something that narrates. Mm-hmm. Like that's why I love these history podcasts because they sort of like just narrate. It's not a conversation. They have to like follow back and forth or many voices.
You can like tune in and out, and you still be.
Yeah, and they talk about the War of 1950, or like whatever, and then you just like you're painting, and that's just like nice to listen to and to sort of pay attention to, but at the same time, I'm focused on what I'm doing more than just music. Music is a lot of people listen to music.
I do,
yeah.
Well, it depends. Like I try to match the music to my mood.
Oh, I was gonna say,
but then
what kind of music?
Like a lot of like metal.
Oh, really?
Like if I'm stuck like
metal?
on something like crazy
Heavy
metal
metal
yelling like, and then I have like a crazy play like I put on shuffle, but
Did you say heavy metal?
Heavy metal like Ozzy Osbourne. You know what I mean? So like that's like if I'm stuck. So then it'll go from like when I was traveling in Amsterdam, like I went to this nightclub and they play like underground German. I don't even know what to call it. It was just like amazing. It's just sounds, but it's almost like an underground German nightclub, like a factory, and it has this like weird factory sounds in the music. Mm-hmm. So it just like, I mean, like when I drive and then my phone is plugged into my car, it'll go from like Ozzy Osbourne to Britney Spears to like Kurt Cobain to Nirvana, Foo Fighters. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like crazy.
Yeah.
But if I'm real, like if I have the idea in my head, ready to go, ready to paint, everything's structured, then I do listen to either like an interview on YouTube or like a podcast, because the structure that I'm listening to and the way they're talking helps me go step by step.
Right.
So that's very interesting. And that's why I love doing this podcast, because like seeing different artists create a process, sometimes we're similar, sometimes we're so different.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So like right now we're similar with this, but then a lot of times somebody was similar with the previous guest that I have, and I'm like, oh wow, that's such an interesting connection.
Yeah.
Because you get to know each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have different connections, but also, people say, oh, typical artist, but I'm like, there's no typical artist. We're like any other sort of group. Like, there's many different things, and There's like clean cut.
Yeah.
There's dirty
so,
artists.
yeah.
You go from A to Z.
Exactly.
So, but there's nice to have similarities and to like find common ground.
Yeah. And where do you see yourself in like 10, 15 years? Or are you like thinking of the future, or are you just in the moment?
Not too much. I don't think too much like that. No, I'd rather not.
Yeah,
I just have my son.
Yeah.
My painting. I'm happy now. I'm grateful. I'm thankful that I get to do it. And I'm just trying to be happy and with gratitude.
That's the best way to be.
Yeah.
I love that because I'm like that too. All right, Fabricio, thank you so much for coming on my podcast. It's been a blessing and a pleasure to have you here. Just to double check again, can you tell us your Instagram?
Yeah, it's F Suarez Art.
Perfect. And can you spell that, because some people don't know?
F as in Frank, S as in Sam, UAREZ, Art.
Perfect. And then for the website,
FabricioSuarez.com.
Perfect. All right, and then they can just follow you there. Please go follow him, and then we can keep track of his amazing work. Thank you again, Fabricio.
Thank you for listening to Tarik Talk. Follow Tarik Talk on all social media channels and check out the video interviews online.